Lemonade is the replacement app for TikTok. No, it's not. Stop.
It's not. It's a ByteDance owned company explicitly.
I hate this. The alternative to TikTok is not what you think it is. It's not Lemonade. The alternative to TikTok, as a matter of fact, is an even more Chinese application. Boys, girls, and MBs, we got Christian Divine in the building. TikTok extraordinaire, friend to many friends of the show. Glad to have you here. Let's get to one of the top news stories of the day. TikTok getting banned. Christian, take it away.
I actually listened to all of the, did they announce, because they're not supposed to announce an opinion till Wednesday, but I did listen to the entire open hearing. And like, there's a whole thing happening right now where if you look up like any news article, it'll be like Supreme Court absolutely striking down like system. And it didn't sound that way, but it doesn't sound like TikTok has a very good case. You know what I mean?
I think that they're using whatever like legal restrictions that they can, whatever legal jargon that they can, to just like functionally take TikTok away from ByteDance, at least the US operations, and give it to an American owner.
Yeah, basically that's like the one thing that it's really sitting on. I will say that explicitly though, like the big thing is that like, so whoever, what is it, the US Solicitor General, I can't remember her name, she was really big on like trying to advocate that like, oh, there's like a special danger from China like this. And the Supreme Court literally laughed at her. There were multiple moments in which the entire court laughed. And one of those things was they were like, oh, like she was like, we think that China might be operating to get Americans to argue with one another. And justices were like, I don't think China has to like do that.
I understand you to say a few minutes ago that one problem that ByteDance might be through TikTok trying to get Americans to argue with each other.
That it might be just trying to
if they do, I say they're winning.
Or dissent. That might very well be true, Mr. Chief Justice. And what is covert is that the PRC, a foreign adversary nation, is instead exploiting a vulnerability in the system.
Well, if that's all it means, that like people don't know that China's behind it, like everybody now knows that China is behind it.
But the thing where TikTok's gonna get like that is that specifically they're trying to argue that the banning of TikTok is a free speech argument, right? That it crucially separates free speech. But because there is the clause about like divestment from ByteDance, they're like, technically TikTok could still operate. And since TikTok could still operate if they divested from a Chinese company, which is not like protected by free speech rights, then technically this free speech is still an option if they sold American. And so that's what I think, that if TikTok does get banned, that's what's gonna fuck it. Like,
yeah, and I think the argument being made on the other side is that the legal grounds for this is like an old radio law that like no radio stations are, there's a limited amount of space for who can operate like a radio station. I think it's like foreign nationals cannot operate a radio station or something. Is like
something like that. But even
part of the argument that they're making, saying that it's because it's like Chinese owned technically.
Yeah, but they were even able to counter argue that, because there's been multiple, like the things that the TikTok lawyers brought up, or the pro TikTok lawyers brought up, was that like there were multiple in the 1950s in the height of the Cold War with like the Foreign Adversaries Act, articles that published communist, like not even just like, oh, we're a communist org here in the States and we're publishing something, like direct scripts like from the communist government, and that was allowed because it was like blatant and like totally there, right? And so that's not allowed. Like the entirety, the standing ground on there being an explicit danger from China basically got laughed at. The bigger problem is whether or not it's legal in the first place, and it seems like because they are allowing that divestment clause, that technically that might be legal. It's gonna f me if it gets banned, but
I don't think it's gonna get banned.
You don't think so? You think they're gonna do a stay?
No, I don't think it's gonna get banned. I think that the ownership structure of ByteDance is complicated, but I think people just don't understand exactly how much of ByteDance is also owned by like Americans.
Yeah.
Like one of the major investors of ByteDance is the Carlyle Group.
Really?
Yeah. People think that it's like entirely controlled by the Chinese government or something. And of course there is control over TikTok and ByteDance specifically by the Chinese government. It's in their law. Having said that, however, I believe that the ownership percentages of TikTok are marginal in comparison to like the rest of the people that own it. There's employees all around the world that have some percentage of ownership. And outside of that, there are a bunch of American institutional investors that are slated to lose billions of dollars of revenue if the ownership of TikTok is forcibly ripped away from the hands of ByteDance. Oh, who owns TikTok's parent company, ByteDance? TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, was founded by Chinese entrepreneurs. ByteDance is a privately held global company, roughly 60% owned by global institutional investors such as BlackRock, General Atlantic, Susquehanna International Group, 20% owned by the company's founders and 20% owned by its employees, including over 7,000 US-based employees. It is not owned or controlled by any government or state-controlled entity. Now, having said that, of course, this is TikTok's own website.
Yeah.
So obviously, when they say, there's no control over it, of course there is.
Yeah.
But I think the question comes down to, like, do you care if the Chinese government has access to your information? One of the biggest fears that people have, apparently, is that because a lot of young people, virtually every single young person in the United States of America uses TikTok, what if those guys one day become, senators or Supreme Court justices, and then, like, China has all this compromise on them? And I find that to be ridiculous. I find that to be a funny fear that they have. And also, and I've maintained this position for quite some time, the notion that, like, TikTok is getting, like, a tremendous trove of data is a hilarious argument to make in the United States of America, where, like, if the Chinese government wanted to get this trove of data, they could just buy it from a data broker.
In fact, like, the thing is, I think where I was shocked by the Supreme Court thing is that, like, the Supreme Court brought this up, right? They grill either side really hard. And when the pro-ban, the Solicitor General, was talking, she was like, there's a unique and covert threat from China. And they were like, this is what separates this from any other tech company? Like, what makes this any different? And fundamentally, they couldn't argue that this was an especially unique threat from anything. So, like, yeah, like, it's a very funny, like, fear-mongering argument. Shout out to Zuckerberg for I can't remember the name of the there's like a media group or a pushing group, so he, like, push these, like, he put like 100 mil into it or something. But, like, it's a whole thing where they're trying to be like, no, like, they're gonna get your kids, they're gonna convince your kids that, like, Xi Jinping is, like, the guy you gotta love.
Yeah, well, too late, I say. This is also another interesting part of this process, which is that ByteDance's board of directors is comprised of 5 individuals, and the CEO obviously is Singaporean. Although if you ask Tom Cotton, that's basically Chinese, but a different. That's a different kind of Chinese. What kind of Chinese are you?
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in Singapore.
Do you have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen. Your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
Yeah, exactly. Are you Chinese or Japanese? Arthur Danchik, Susquehanna International Group, U.S. based. Bill Ford, General Atlantic. Philip Lafont, Cult Management, U.S. based. And then Neil Shine, Sequoia, Hong Kong based. So that's what's silly about this process as well, because with how global finance capital operates, like, it's virtually impossible to have a product that is so expansive, that is used by billions of people globally. It's virtually impossible for institutional investors to not, especially American institutional investors, to not in some way, shape, or form be involved in the profit-making side of things. So I think it's hilarious, like, red baiting, anti-Chinese sentiment. And I think the real reasons, like, there are multiple different parties involved in the banning of TikTok, and each of them have their own unique little interests. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg and obviously Google, for example, absolutely want to eviscerate TikTok because they want to be TikTok. They see every moment that people are spending on TikTok is a moment they could be spending on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels. So of course they want that market share. They want that delicious, juicy market share. For the ADL and the Israel lobby, it's an entity that is uncontrollable and is not susceptible to the same censorious whims that Western social media companies are. So then that's another problem.
Yeah, no, like people getting blasted straight footage from Gaza for like the entire thing. Like,
yeah. So that's a genuine, I think that's literally the straw that broke the camel's back, really. I think that's when obviously Donald Trump, even when he was president, talked about wanting to ban TikTok by executive authority. And then, they passed the buck down to Congress and a lot of legislation was passed around. But post October 7, there was enough momentum, especially because people could not comprehend why so many people under the age of 35 had demonstrated sympathy towards Palestinians. They were like, what the f is going on? We need to put an end to this. So TikTok was seemingly the responsible culprit. And that was, that was a great way to kick this over the finish line. And that's why it happened. It's something that is very alarming, and it will happen a lot more in the Trump administration, in my opinion, where the American State Department and national security concerns are going to be constantly used to try to push out by force Chinese commerce from the American marketplace.
Yeah, it's genuinely a stress test. There's not even like, it's kind of listening to them argue about it. There's not even a precedent. There's no case that works or operates in this exact same way. And it's more of a stress test for what they can do with the law and how much they can get rid of. And there's 4 countries listed under the Protection from Foreign Adversaries Act. It's like China, Iran, Russia.
Venezuela?
Is Venezuela in there?
Cuba.
Yeah, I think it's just like 4 nations where they're like, oh yeah, we can basically determine that like things from this nation are inherently threats and dangerous as a way to like, it's a stress test. It's 100% a stress test.
And it's really funny because American infrastructure is so dog and so crippled that we recently found out that like the Chinese espionage agencies have almost complete access to telecommunications in the United States of America because our telecommunications infrastructure is so old and antiquated. And therefore, there are numerous ways in which if China wanted to spy on American citizens, they could do that.
They could do it very...
They don't need to do it through TikTok. I think TikTok ultimately it causes a lot of brain rot, but so does every other application. And if there was any sort of serious interest in trying to curb the brain rot or try to combat against misinformation, we would first and foremost apply EU-style regulation on all social media platforms. If privacy was an issue, we would abolish data brokers and we would do more to protect people's privacy. These are not real concerns. These are not valid concerns. These are simply concerns that we're using against a Chinese-owned, very successful social media company because we're playing foul and we don't like that they are out-competing us in our own game.
Yeah. No, that's literally 100%. None of the actual, there's no real defense for it that you can make. That's very hard. It's whether or not it's legal that they can pass that, but there's no defense for it other than they want to knock out this company that is taking up so much of the market share and operating in ways that they cannot explicitly control in the same way that they can, Zuckerberg just got rid of fact checking, right? Like, it's like a whole thing.
And before people say like TikTok is so leftist or whatever, because that's another concern that like right wingers have. It's not.
It's not.
Out of all of the social media platforms, the only difference with TikTok as opposed to like Facebook or whatever is that there's almost like a 50-50 split of left wing versus right wing sentiment. That's the only difference. Every other platform, the right dominates almost in its entirety, whether you go to YouTube, whether you go to Facebook, or dare I say, the neo-Nazi safe haven of Twitter, now known as X. There's a tremendous amount of right-wing garbage that is created right-wing echo chambers. TikTok, on the other hand, quite literally is the only place where there's like at least some semblance of parity in terms of the political correspondence and communication. And that's precisely the reason why people are very frustrated by it. I mean, yeah, look at this. Yeah. Look, but this isn't even a great study for the record. Like, this is not a great study because it just simply looked at news influencers.
Yeah.
But yeah, across all websites, it's 27% right-leaning and 21% left-leaning. On Facebook, it's 39% right-leaning, and this is before Mark Dick Zuckerberg came out and was like gargling on Donald Trump's on the Joe Rogan Experience to be like, please like me. I'm not the woke lord that you guys think I am. I hate trans people. Instagram is a 30 to 25% split. TikTok is a 25 to 28%. It's the only platform where there's almost a complete parity, but with the left-leaning content and leftist sentiment is a little bit higher than right-leaning sentiment. Twitter is at a 28% to 21%, and YouTube is at a 28% to 21% split. That's the real fear that people have, alongside with the fact that they can't get immediate backdoor into TikTok if they ever chose to do so, as far as I understand.
Yeah, they can't. So.
Even though the data is also, from what I understand, the data is also stored in Oracle facilities now, because they took initiative and changed the way that the data was stored, right?
It's that's even mid. I will say that they are taking actions to protect it, but I can't remember what the case was, but ByteDance was trying to figure out who in their systems were reporting back to journalists, and so then they were able to take that data. So it's like, not that it's they're making as many steps as possible, significantly more steps than every other social media app operating in the United States, but they're still data brokers. They're still fucking around with the data. It's like they've just made more of an effort because they're under such more.
Yeah, I think ultimately we as American consumers usually understand that, or at least the people that are knowledgeable on this understand that our information is not private.
Yeah.
So for many people, they don't give a if the information is being stored by a PRC, Communist Party of China, Politburo chief, or if it's being stored by someone who's going to sell it off to an advertiser.
Right.
They don't care. Like, that's it.
Fundamentally,
why would you care? Why? What are they going to do with it?
Like, they're going to say, like, what? Like, no one, the average person, your life is not so important that like the PRC with your data is like this whole like scared like tech. It's like they are all selling it for advertising purposes. They are all selling it for this. And to be honest, people know this now, and they do not give a like. They don't care. It took my data and all my algorithms to show me more cat videos, I guess. Like, that's really it at the end of the day.
Yeah. I still, because there's so much money involved, and because there are so many small businesses that have started on TikTok, I said this like when the first piece of legislation passed, I was like, I don't think that this will happen. And I still maintain that position, because there are billions of dollars of commerce happening on TikTok and every year. So it would be too harmful to institutional investors that get a piece of that. And also it would be too harmful for many Americans who sell their product.
Yeah, it's like, it's a bizarrely, like, I mean, not anti-American in that sense, but like in a nonpartisan way, very anti-American citizen. Where like people stand to lose so much. People built their businesses, people built their lives, people who aren't just like, I guess, like people doing dances, which respect people doing dances, but like it's like truly like people have built like businesses, their lives, supplemental income all off of TikTok, and the other algorithms don't do it like that.
So here's some fun little info. This video by popular TikTok personality Soupy is going viral with 1.2 million likes and 3.9 million views in 15 hours. Gen Z is not happy. Let's see.
Fascist countries ban apps. Fascist countries ban websites. Fascist.
Okay, I don't know. I mean,
I think that there's I don't
think it's a fascism to ban apps. Like,
I do think that like one of the fun parts of TikTok brain rot is I talk about this a lot, where it's like the think piece format, where we've all watched so many like think piece videos that now there's like it's like YouTuber voice, but for like
there's TikToker voice, unaliving what people say. Yeah. When I get hit with unalive in the real world, it zaps my brain. I'm too 33 years old to like comprehend what you're saying. All right, let's continue.
Countries ban apps and websites under the guise of threats to national security, when every other country knows it's about suppressing the free speech of its citizens. If the government believes that a single app could, quote from the hearing on the 10th, skew the perspective of American citizens to be anti-American, maybe the real problem is that American citizens are already in such a state of political unrest and unhappiness that our government is scared a single foreign influence could tip the scale and have it all be over. Don't you think that by taking away the, and I quote, key communications channel of Americans, it's gonna make those 170 million Americans a little more anti-American? Maybe Congress knows and understands that. Maybe the government knows.
I think that like I mean, I don't know anybody in Congress like that, but I think that they kind of overestimate. I think they kind of overestimated how much the American people hate China, because they don't hate China more than we hate like our own government.
That's not true. I think a lot of Americans, a lot of normie Americans despise China. There is so much, there's an endless faucet of hatred, anti-Chinese sentiment, that, because like you have to remember, how old are you?
30.
You're 30 years old. Okay. But you're predominantly on TikTok. You see a lot of TikTok stuff. It's not a secret that TikTok is fantastic for pro-China sentiment.
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with that. I actually like that. I love that, as a matter of fact. I think it's awesome. We should have pro all of the country's sentiment being expressed. I think average Americans definitely have a great distrust. Part of it is due to Orientalist attitudes. Part of it is obviously white supremacy. But the average American is genuinely fearful. But what is the common factor? What is the unifying principle of all Americans? That we are descendants of Adolf Treatler. Okay? We love our treats. We love our treats. And TikTok is treats. It's like jalapeno poppers and crack at the same time. So when you have 170 million people that are slammed onto their treat of looking at TikTok videos, whether it be people dancing or cat videos, or my brother likes to look at like industrial equipment because he's very autistic. Taking that away will be very frustrating for many Americans. I wouldn't say that they like China, but I think they love TikTok.
Yeah, I just think that like what I'm trying to say is that like explicitly like Americans do have a lot of like anti-Chinese sentiment.
China has a 81% unfavorable.
I just don't think we hate China more than we hate, like, at least hate it enough to like get rid of the app. That makes sense. I think just like, even though with the unfavorable reviews, like the way this polling works is like, how much do we actively care about the threat of China today versus like 30 years ago?
I'm telling you right now, Americans despise China. They would bomb Beijing if given the opportunity, okay? But I promise you, they don't give a that TikTok is owned by China. That's just the way I see it. And they will get, I think, no, boomers use TikTok too, chatters. You're wrong if you think that old people don't use TikTok.
People use it.
They use TikTok.
But boomers hate China.
Boomers hate China. Everybody hates China. Like a lot of Americans do, but they love TikTok. Boomers are the best posters on TikTok. Yeah, exactly. They're great. And TikTok is great overall. And people really enjoy it. And it's a treat. And people don't have anything if they don't have treats. The entire American project revolves around easily accessible treats. If a consumer good doesn't enter the marketplace and is banned before it can ever enter the marketplace, like BYD, like Yangwang 9 or whatever, all of these like wonderful Chinese electric vehicles, then that's fine.
Yeah.
You can stave that off by never allowing it to enter the American marketplace. But once a treat has entered the marketplace, it is very hard to take that away, in my opinion. That's the way I think about it. Like, I think people will be very upset if TikTok is taken away.
Are there statistics on like how many people explicitly wanted TikTok banned?
I've never seen one. But let me tell you, I will not trust any opinion poll on that. That says that there is even more than 20% of Americans that want TikTok banned. Half of this country is on TikTok. They love that.
That the backlash it will receive from banning TikTok does not outweigh the threats that come with its existence.
Okay, this is the other thing that I want to mention. The American government does not give a about democratic sentiment. I mean, come on. Look at the Supreme Court banning abortion after lying to the American public about how it's a super precedent and how they would never touch that. Look at Israel-Palestine. The overwhelming majority of Americans are like, bro, why are we giving money to Israel? They're killing babies. Like, I don't even care about killing babies, but like, fix the potholes instead of giving it to Israel. And the American government's like, nah, dog. Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say give more money to Israel? Because that's what I'm going to do. So like, they don't give a about democracy,
about what people care about, even a little bit. I think that's like, people underestimate how much people just care about like how much food costs and how hard it is to get to work. Like gas prices and food is like
support for a U.S. TikTok ban continues to decline, and half of adults doubt it will happen. 32% support a ban.
That makes sense.
Even amid the decline in support for banning TikTok, views remain divided by political party. Republicans and Republican-leaning independents are far more likely than Democrats and Democratic leaners to support a ban. Yeah, I just don't. Oh my God. Especially, I would love to see this after Donald Trump said he wants TikTok to remain.
It's from September.
Yeah, this is from September, but this is now that Trump has come out in defense of TikTok. Who knows?
Oh yeah, people are.
Yeah.
Save me, Donald Trump.
Yeah, please. Oh my God, my goat, my king. I think that the terrifying precedent that a lot of people don't understand is like, if they do push this through, there are so many products that you enjoy in the gaming space, especially. All Riot, all Epic products gone, okay? No more Fortnite. I think Epic is also owned by, is Epic also owned by Tencent? Riot definitely is owned by a Chinese conglomerate.
NetEase.
No more Marvel Rivals. No more Genshin. No more Valorant. No more League of Legends.
Wait,
Path of Exiles 2. Yeah. So yeah, I know it's probably a good thing, but
sorry.
But my point is, the American government on background are also moving, the American military specifically has moved to put these companies in the crosshairs, considering it a foreign military asset, okay? No more TP-Link routers. This is another thing that they want to take away. Yeah. No more DJI drones. Like, the overwhelming majority of the drone marketplace is flooded by Chinese drones, Chinese goods. The overwhelming majority, I mean, there's so many routers that they are claiming are being utilized by the Chinese military as a way to spy on Americans. I'm telling you right now, PC parts, like virtually everything that you own at some point has touched a Chinese hand. Okay, that's it. It's the manufacturing hub of the planet. So therefore, it is absolutely ridiculous to try to make these kinds of bans, and they will apply it whenever enough wealthy people in a specific sector find Chinese manufacturing to be too competitive. Insane take about China, the country most directly responsible for destroying the manufacturing base of this country by working hand in hand with neolibs you despise. But yeah, let's flood with cheap BYD cars and end manufacturing here and embrace reactionism and send us off in the MAGAville. Okay, H-Bizzle, calm down. I'm not saying that, okay? How about Ford not stop the production of electric vehicles? I'm not saying that we should. No, that's not bait. H-Bizzle works in the AFL-CIO. He works with the UAW. So obviously, he has a very different approach to this. And I'm not even against trade protectionist policies. I'm not against protectionist policies. We're talking about goods that have no competitive domestically manufactured product. Also, I like that you're talking about BYD and Chinese products, because the major reason why we're not allowing it to flood the American marketplace is because they're not only inexpensive, but they're also better. And that's not my attitude. Jim Farley said that, okay? That's not me. The main man said it. Ford Motor Company. Ford Motor Company's very own. Jim Farley's like, damn, dude. These Chinese EVs are crazy.
Funny.
Anyway, we don't design the cars. We only build them. Okay, I know. I'm just saying. Big difference between materials and entertainment. No, the car manufacturing industry is one of the major industries that still has domestic manufacturing, even though many of that has also been sold off into, Mexico and Canada as well through other trade agreements. My point is, I don't think it's especially with no competitive domestic manufacturing capabilities, it's idiotic to just be like, no, we're taking this treat away from you. And especially as it pertains to TikTok, I have no issue with TikTok whatsoever. I think it's completely ridiculous to try to ban it, especially when it is probably one of my weakest platforms overall. I don't spend any time on it. I mean, I do spend time on it as a consumer now more than ever, but I don't spend any time on it making content specifically for TikTok. But I also recognize the place it holds. I recognize the importance it has, especially when it comes to communicating certain issues to a younger demographic, Israel, Palestine, things of that nature.
I think it's
pro Luigi Mangione sentiment.
Nice Luigi Mangione memes. It's got something where it's like, if you have ideas and its algorithm is so strong, it allows you to communicate things in a way and get it to an audience so much more effectively than like other formats have been for me. Like things like, for me personally, as like a consumer, I feel like disability justice is like one of the biggest things that I've been able to learn about in my time that I don't think like I would have had as much access to without like disabled creators who make things.
Also, one of the funniest things is to get mad not at American capitalists who offshored manufacturing to China, but instead they get mad at the Chinese. This is the reverse. This is the reverse of the funny sentiment that I always clown on when people go, I don't care about the American ruling class. I want the American workers to suffer. But it's like in reverse. It's like, I don't care about the real villains that shipped manufacturing overseas. I want the Chinese to suffer. The Chinese. That's the real problem here. They did this because they wanted to destroy American manufacturing. Yeah, dude. When the agrarian society,
yeah,
and the peasant class was like, one day American manufacturing will come here and we will destroy the labor aristocracy in America. KKK. That's what they were saying. Thank God for Richard Nixon, my goat. Well, they do say that in China, to be fair. But anyway, I forgot to finish this TikTok. Let's finish this.
Not in a matter of national security, but in a matter of being the most popular news and media outlet that the government cannot control, like American-owned broadcasting networks and publications. Maybe if this was actually a national security concern, the government would be banning all Chinese-developed apps like Shein and Temu that collect the exact same amount of data.
Okay, to be fair, like they probably will.
Don't give them
ideas.
No, specifically that came up in the Supreme Court case, and they were like,
no,
who told you that wasn't next? And it's like, I guess not. So like they could very easily go to Shein and Temu next.
Yeah, they're coming after Temu now. I mean, that would actually be the greatest consumer protection advocacy that the American government accidentally landed on.
As TikTok. Because maybe it knows TikTok is something special. You can't politically organize on Temu. If TikTok goes dark, the government deliberately and knowingly took away your free speech. Do not accept national security for an answer ever.
I like that people are radicalized over losing their treats.
Yeah.
Apparently, while we were having this conversation, there was talks about Elon potentially purchasing TikTok. Chinese officials are evaluating a potential option, according to Bloomberg Technology, that involves Elon Musk acquiring TikTok's U.S. operations. The company fails to fend off a controversial ban on the app, which is devastating. But then Variety reached out to TikTok. TikTok has denied a report that it is looking at a potential sale to Elon Musk to keep the app operational in America amid a looming U.S. government ban. We can't be expected to comment on pure fiction.
Ooh.
Pure fiction, baby.
That's a fire quote. That's good.
Yeah. Also, TikTok's not going away on the 19th before people like panic. Even if TikTok were to be quote unquote banned by the Supreme Court and there's not a stay of execution, right? And that decision is going to come tomorrow or no, 2 days from now, right?
Yeah, an opinion. Well, an opinion might.
Yeah, an opinion. So that stay of execution and a potential extension, even if that didn't come, what would end up happening is basically like TikTok would just not be updated. That's it. Like you could still have your TikTok. It's not illegal for you as an American citizen to go on TikTok and use TikTok.
Well, the one thing is they might be shutting down operations. They've threatened, or not threatened, but they've talked about completely just like if they don't get a stay or anything, like if it like gets fully banned, that they plan on shutting down U.S. operations. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but I don't think that's
I don't think they would shut the servers down. I don't think so. I don't think TikTok will shut the servers down. Am I crazy? They told SCOTUS the site would go offline. I think they're playing hardball, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe I'm too positive about this. But Google and Apple can push phone updates to break the app. They could. I don't think they would. Maybe Google, but I don't think Apple would. ByteDance will go kicking and screaming for letting the U.S. take TikTok over. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's fair. It's like, because it's like obviously bullshit. I feel like.
But you have to remember, like, what is the enforcement mechanism of ensuring that this ban goes through? You need the government to also follow through. You need to punish potentially Apple and Google for hosting and maintaining updates for TikTok. I don't think these guys are going to do that. I don't think these guys are going to follow through on it, especially when they now have some semblance of protection from Donald Trump that said that he wants a stay of execution for TikTok.
Yeah, he's very directly expressed that. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, he doesn't want it gone.
So many things are Chinese. Like so many things that we use on a day-to-day basis is touched by Chinese hands. So it's ridiculous. Lemonade is the replacement app for TikTok. No, it's not. Stop.
It's not. It's a ByteDance owned company explicitly.
I hate this. The alternative to TikTok is not what you think it is. It's not lemonade. The alternative to TikTok, as a matter of fact, is an even more Chinese application.
Xiaohongshu.
Xiaohongshu! Ladies and gentlemen, the Red Note. Xiaohongshu! The application CEO has welcomed the Americans. Xiaohongshu has become the #1 downloaded application in the United States of America as of yesterday. Red Note, more like the Red Book. Am I right? Let's take a look at what he's saying.
Hey guys, just want to make a quick video about Xiaohongshu, introducing you guys to this platform. So tip number 1, we mainly use this platform for searching for suggestions, such as for restaurants, such as for shopping malls, even for like makeup tips. And secondly, this platform is mainly Chinese speaking, but do feel free to speak English and post English content because I believe there are a lot more.
Why is this Chinese man speaking too good English? I don't speak English this good.
English speaking people on this platform
nowadays.
That's
not the CEO? Okay, whatever.
Just
like,
a content creator?
There are a lot of celebrities trying to register for the account here. So what matters more?
I don't have Xiaohongshu, but I've seen some
I want to say never
Xiaohongshu content, and they are actually, their brain rot is like good. I'd scroll.
This TikTok is about Red Note.
Red Note, and all I can
Oh,
say
I've seen
is
this.
the
I've seen this.
Instagram
Shout out
is for the
Blue.
go out real sad. And watch this. These niggas are light years ahead of us. First thing I see on this fucking app is Luigi content and fine shit throwing fits, bro. I saw a fucking post that said black people are greater than, and it was just a fucking collage of dark-skinned, beautiful people. Mark Zuckerberg was scared of me giving up my data. Bitch, I'm about to give that shit straight to Xi Jinping in a red fucking envelope, nigga. 我讨厌美国. And niggas who get it, get it. And the best part is I don't even gotta introduce these niggas to communism. The app is literally Instagram, Tumblr, and TikTok all squeezed into one, bro. All I'm gonna say to y'all though is come with some respect, because I don't give a they're speaking Mandarin. Mandarin is the most spoken language in the world. I'm gonna need y'all to lock in. But yeah, y'all can find me there. That is this.
I can't tell you, it might be, but
I thought it was still English. You know, considering that massive swaths of India also speak English, kind of hard to. Everybody goes, oh, it might be okay. Native, maybe first language, maybe. Apparently, yeah, people are popping off on Red Note. They're the Chinese people on Xiaohongshu are now asking Americans for help with their English homework. Lamau, hey homie, could you help me do my homework?
You know what's embarrassing about this?
What?
Apparently we're giving them the wrong answers, and not like intentionally, but because we just also don't know English.
Tales from Red Note for you page.
So allow me to show you my FYP on Red Note. My username is the same if you want to find me, Lady Dragon JJ. And mind you, I've only been on this app for like an hour, and here's my FYP. Luigi edits. Lots and lots of Luigi edits. Cats. We have to have cats. People doing goofy skits. Bunch of jokes about Americans going to Red Note, calling us refugees. TikTok refugees. Laughing aside, I have seen some videos from the LA fires. This beautiful matcha cake. More cats. Cats and Luigi, I swear to God. This Sikh gentleman wrapping turbans on people. This video right here, it's entirely in Chinese. I think it's like the version of Book Talk, but she's making facial expressions to give you like what she's reading. So you can definitely pick up on context clues. This account right here, a Chinese teacher Neely, they're posting all these videos teaching people Chinese. And fancy ass coffee. Yeah. These are just some examples. Yes, a lot of the content is in Chinese. You're not going to be able to understand it, but you will come across a lot of the English-speaking audience in that app because there's like a surge right now. So the algorithm is going to be like mixed and it's going to be all over the place. Overall, it's got potential if TikTok gets banned because no meta. Never meta. And if you're making content, this is what the camera looks like. It's very similar to TikTok. You have your reverse button. You have...
Everyone is just promoting... Dude, oh God, this is what I'm saying. We love our treats, man.
We love them.
We'll punish the American government for taking our treats away. We'll show them. I think this is going to cause like TikTok power users to become even more pro-China. Me, because I'd rather move to China than Instagram
real. Very real. One of my favorite TikTok comments people can get is post this to IG Reels. It's the most like negative thing you can say.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Reels is a fucking nightmare.
I want to learn Mandarin. The Chinese buying me the last minute before his ban. Damn, this goes so hard. I have no idea what they're saying, but
no clue. No, that song's been
feel
hidden.
it. I feel it in my bones, dude. Everyone on TikTok transition to Red Note. The Chinese TikTok Red Note is going to be the #1 app downloaded worldwide this week. The irony of banning a Singaporean app out of China concerns, only to have everyone start using a Chinese app. TikTok does have a lot of influence, and I think I understand why it's scary for American officials for that reason. It is pretty funny because they'll immediately make the argument where they're like, well, you know, our apps are banned over there. And it's like, okay, do you think that's a good thing? Because it seems like you're criticizing the Chinese government's actions there.
Yeah.
While simultaneously saying we should do the same.
Yeah, people don't care about hypocrisy. People don't care about like even the most obvious hypocrisy. Even. You think that like, you know how like people will be like, oh, what are we, like communist China? But like, we're not, dog.
If TikTok was supposedly instilling revolutionary sentiment in American consciousness, I wouldn't get freaking banned all the time. Okay. I feel like I would have immediate TikTok contact at this point. You know, Xi Jinping will be giving me a medal of honor. All right, Christian, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. This was dope.
This was a wonderful experience. Hopefully you don't get canceled.
You know, it happens.
But you know, if it happens, well, guess what? TikTok's gonna get banned. What are they gonna do? Chirp into the void?
Yeah.
They're gonna they're gonna eat your alive on the red note, dude.
I can't wait. I'm gonna get
they're gonna move on to red note just to destroy you.